And I know that then you started SENREVE after Medallia. How did the idea come about?
I've always had different ideas, and I think of myself as someone who's like has no shortage of ideas, a company to start or pain points to solve or things like that. So I always have ideas. But with SENREVE, it was really interesting because I was on a business trip in New York. I was speaking at this CMO conference on a panel representing Medallia, obviously. And during the middle of the panel, I had this like crazy out of body experience where this little voice was telling me, oh, it's really time for you to work on your own company and speak about that and think about that. Why are you still at Medallia talking about customer experience and data analytics? So it was a really exciting spark that happened. And then on the plane ride back from New York to San Francisco, I really wrote out the business plan for SENREVE, which is kind of crazy, but it really was very authentic to me, right? And somehow there was just a moment and a spark where all of this came out actually in a very coherent way. So it's fun for me to like revisit that document once in a while because it's always amusing to see how much has changed or how much has stayed the same.
That's super cool. What made you decide to start like a handbag company?
I felt personally an opportunity to start something in this space because I saw that there were still a lot of pain points where I could never find that perfect bag. And I was always struggling with something that was very functional and masculine or something that was more beautiful and luxurious. And there wasn't really something that allowed me to achieve both. And so I felt like there was a big opportunity in the market. I also felt that direct to consumer as a business model at the time was emerging, and a lot of luxury brands were not very forward thinking when it came to digital and e-commerce. I also felt that from a price point perspective, the traditional luxury brands kept raising their prices, and the mass luxury brands were really not focused on quality. And so there was a big gap and white space from that perspective as well. So it was very clear to me that there was a big opportunity that was exciting, and it was a very specific moment in time. So I would say it was definitely personal experience and passion combined with seeing a pain point and also seeing a market dynamic that allowed SENREVE to emerge.
And I love the way that you phrase it. It really is like a combination of like passion and market opportunity, and a pain point. Then that's usually what creates a really successful business. But I know you mentioned that you had other ideas. You have no shortage of ideas or pain points that you notice. What made it that this one was the one that really stood out for you?
It really was something that my husband said, actually. He said, imagine if you were to start this company, every day you would wake up and you would think about it, you would talk about it, you would talk about it with friends, with investors, with family, with anyone you see, strangers in the street. You would be preaching about this thing, right? Like, what is it that you could do that for every day with enthusiasm and excitement and also with authenticity? And so that was something that I think is a pretty high bar.
So I guess taking a step back, so you wrote your business plan on the plane. What were the next steps that you took to bring this idea into reality?
I did a lot of legwork. I always think about SENREVE and kind of myself, and even back to, what I shared earlier about how I thought of my college degree. It's a combination of analytics and more kind of humanities and liberal arts. So it's a kind of combination of left brain and right brain. And so in this case with SENREVE, it's definitely a combination of passion and excitement and authenticity with me validating the market opportunity. So I did a lot of consumer research. I did a lot of, and that entailed a lot of focus groups and surveys. And I spoke to a lot of different advisors and mentors in the space. And I started building more relationships and networking with relevant people who would eventually introduce me to suppliers in Italy or partners or important people in the overall supply chain to create product. So those were some of the things that I did. And every conversation I had, it led me closer to starting SENREVE. And some of them were not like the most encouraging. Some of them were more like, oh, this is a crazy idea. Why are you doing this? You should stay at Medallia because it's going to go public and you're going to do really well there. But those were also great conversations because I feel like in some ways they were just testing my resolve and they were trying to see how serious I was about pursuing this. So I like that. Actually, it was quite helpful. And then some of the experts or advisors I had who have been in the industry for many years spoke a lot about the different challenges and so forth. And again, that was really great feedback and exciting and interesting for me because I think if it were so obvious, then it wouldn't be a different or a high impact type of idea. And so it was not obvious to these people. Like it was so clear and obvious to me, but for all of these people, they didn't see what I saw. So I thought that was a good thing, actually.